Okay, we'll call to order at 7:02 p.m. First, the territorial recognition. Brock University acknowledges the land on which we gather is a traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. So now we'll move on to the agenda approval. Be it resolved, the board approves the agenda for meeting number 5. Can we have a mover and a seconder? Okay, Lena and Thomas?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, can we get a vote on that, please? All in favor? Okay, that's everybody. Okay. The next agenda item is review minutes. Be it resolved, the board approves the minutes from meeting number 4 and the October 1st, 2024 special meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Okay, we'll go Ritzik and Tomasian. Can I get vote in favor? No. Anyone thinks so? That's everyone again? Okay. So we'll move on to agenda item number 5. So this is the 2024-2025 BUSU budget, and the speaker will be Robert, Kaylee, and Kate. Do you have the preparation ready?
Yeah, so I'll give just a little brief overview. So typically the BUSU budget comes to the board slightly earlier. This year, we started our year with Mark, who was in Ghana on a academic excursion. And so what we did is we waited until this point in time. So from a budgeting perspective, certainly you have the fiduciary responsibilities of finance of the actual for the students. And so what we do here is we actually will share the budget. So from a budget developer's perspective, I developed the first couple budgets when I came here. Kate actually did it. Kaylee develops it. And then so what we do is we do that largely so that everyone in our organization eventually comes to understand the finances of the organization. Kaylee's now in her second year of that process. So I'm going to turn it over to Kaylee to present.
Thank you, Robert. So just start with a bit of an explanation. As you know, there are multiple levies that BUSU collects funds from. So there's the green levy that you guys have approved funds for, the transit levy, multiple different levies. This is the BUSU operating levy. So when Robert talks, and we've heard it before, how we are a $15 or $16 million organization, this is part of it. And this is the budget that needs to be approved by the board every year. So that's why it's coming to the board. So we'll go over the revenue. We'll do questions at the end. I'll go through everything first.
Treats. Wow.
So many people.
Doors to open for a lock. Or well, they were shut, so I didn't think I could go through that.
Oh, we're just starting the budget.
Okay.
So I'll go through the revenue and then I'll go through the expenses. I'm not going to go through every line, but I'll kind of highlight some different spots that might be worth noting. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So we'll start with the revenue. So the largest portion that is coming in is through student fees. So it's actually called, I think, the BUSAC levy. If you look in your financial history, the per credit fee that primarily funds our operations in this building. We also receive a contribution from Brock University every year for $150,000. You're going to see some rental income that we charge to Brock Press and Brock TV. And then there's some other incomes that come in. Note Brad Photos, so Studio Nostalgia, that's outside of our building. They pay to be here on campus. I'm blanking. What's the name of the poster? LuxArt? Imaginus, the poster sale guys. They come and pay money to be in our building a couple times a year. So we're able to bring in some revenue that way. So you'll see there, one thing we'll note, we do get contributions from the GSA as well. So they pay us a sum of money intern, along with graduate students are able to use some of the programs and services that we offer. So total, we're looking $2.34 million-ish for revenue for operating. So then we go down, we start looking at expenses. We've divided it up into different sections, which we do every year. So starting off with the largest chunk of money that we spend is on staffing costs. So you'll see it broken down there, salaries of the executives, the permanent full-time staff, the part-time costs, that includes the student staff that work in our offices. And then Kate has a very in-depth calculator that calculates out all the different expenses that come with hiring an employee. And you'll see them divided up in there. So there's the EI, CPP, all of that, vacation pay, and it goes into detail. Also the benefits and everything else that comes with employing staff. So total for staffing costs, we're looking at about $1.43 million for the year. And then the next section touches on you guys, as well as the executives and our advisory council. So it's the money that we spend on our appointed and our elected student leaders. So we have some money that we set aside as honorariums for our student senators. We have 6 student senators, and they spend significant amount of their time preparing and attending Senate meetings, preparing and attending Senate committee meetings. And in order to recognize the time that they spend doing that, we like to provide them with an honorarium. And that's based on their participation and their attendance. We also ordered some swag for our council. You guys may have seen those like tan colored sweaters. That's primarily where that $3,000 is going to. There's also some smaller items that Jesse ordered that we give away at the meetings. Transition retreat, that's when we went to White Oaks to do our training day. Transition retreat external presenters, that was for Catherine to come down and talk to you guys, give her a presentation on nonprofit governance. We also had Catherine come back and have a session with our student executives and the full-time staff on goal setting. You're going to see those goals probably the next meeting. And then there's some additional expenses there. One thing to note that we did different based on a motion from the board last year is the board set the amount of money that would be spent on executive professional development. So that's reflected in budget now. The president and the VPUA were allotted $1,000. The VPSS a little bit more because they will go to COCA every year. As Rhea did go to COCA with Anusha earlier this year. And then what's not listed here is the VPEA. They attend USA, that's their professional development, and those costs are covered in a different budget in the advocacy line. Something else different we did this year. In previous years, we had set aside $5,000 per executive to work on their goals for the year. What we've found the past few years is that the executives don't usually have like a set $5,000 worth of goals to work on. So we just pooled that money together. It's a lot of stuff they'll work on together. Some of them may not have much to pay for out of their goals. So we thought it would just be more appropriate to put that money together, and then it will be used how they see fit and how the board sees fit once you see the goals for the year. So then we move down to office expenses. A large chunk of that is insurance premiums that we have to pay, legal costs to our law firm. The consulting fee is going to be covering an EDI audit this year that Kate will start later in the year. It's part of our strategic plan. So the estimate that Kate's received so far is about $40,000. IT support's a big one as well too. You may not be aware, but we don't have support from Brock IT. We have to have our own IT firm that takes care of all of our network and our computers and all of that. And they answer all the silly questions that I have when my computer stops working that I should know how to do. Some of the other charges you'll see there, ADP, our payroll software, our accounting software, miscellaneous office expenses that come up. And then a lot of the office equipment, telephone, copier, furniture, if we need to purchase furniture. The property costs and utility costs, so we're projecting a lower cost this year because we did replace all the lighting in the office, which is good, so we'll be looking forward to see the impact that actually has on our utility costs. And the audit fees as well down there, the 25,000 for the audit fees, which is, you guys met the auditor at the last meeting, so you have to pay them to complete our audit. So when we move down to just other expenses, here, so there is a contribution that the Division 1 budget makes to the Food First program for $20,000. The Food First program costs significantly more than $20,000 to run, but that is in Ron Bowman's portfolio. So he works to get sponsorship money coming in throughout the year, and then in turn, that money helps supplement the cost of providing the gift cards for students, the free breakfast, the grab and go, and all the other initiatives that we try to provide free food for students. Another big one is the drive home program. That's a highly used service that we offer students around exam time. Comes out of the Division 1 budget. The Division 1 marketing expense, that is Jesse's budget for the year. And so Jesse provides marketing for all the different departments at BUSU. A lot of that $35,000 goes into purchasing swag that she gives out throughout the year, all the tabling supplies that she uses, and giveaways, any money that she may need to put into surveys. That comes out of her budget. You'll see there some money set aside. Twice a year, we do a holiday party for staff. At the end of the year, we also do kind of a celebration for the end of the year to recognize our students. And yeah, and then I'll just highlight, so the executive professional development and everything was listed separately. So the money that's set aside for the rest of the permanent staff is listed there as well too. And we kind of take that money and decide every year, you know, who's most appropriate to go to a conference. We are a member of a couple different organizations, COCA being one, Amicus being another. So we we don't pay for everyone to go to every conference every year, but we decide kind of what makes the most sense depending on what's going on at those conferences. You'll see there a contingency fund, website costs, and then there's $40,000 that's set aside to make up for some of the losses for the social enterprises, which is another name that we use for our businesses that we operate. So they hire a lot of staff and they try to keep their margins as low as possible so that students can have a more affordable food experience on campus. And as a result, the Division 1 budget kicks in some money to help offset the cost of that. And so you can see there, just at the bottom, total revenue, 2.341 million, total expenses, 2.340 million, with just a tiny little bit of a revenue. And yeah, I'm happy to, well, the three of us are happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about any specific line, or about the budget in general.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Is there any questions? Is that your hand?
What are the annual priorities that's worth $20,000?
Yeah, so that, I'm just going to it on a sheet, so it's reporting. So in previous years, if you look at a budget from a previous year, it would say president priorities, 5,000, BPUA priorities, 5,000, and so on. And it was essentially the money set aside for the executives to spend on what their goals were for the year. And so we've had some years where we have lost an executive. We've had some years where executives needed some more money than that. We've had some years when they needed less. And we just thought it was most appropriate. We'll just put that money together and then Anusha and her team can decide how to best allocate those funds.
Just give them a minute.
Yep.
Through it. Then if any question pops up, let me know.
I'm just wondering, because you were gonna say something, Jesse's gonna give us kind of a breakdown on more of the staff expenditures later on.
No, sorry, what I was trying to say was that, so in order to, you can probably explain it better. Somebody's salary is not just, what they make, there's a whole bunch of different components to that.
It's just either if you could explain that a little bit more.
So whenever you have an employee, we all get taxed for EI, CPP, EHT, belonging to WSIB, having insurance, so the employee gets taxed and pays a portion of that into the larger funds in Canada. The employer also has to pay a certain portion of those contributions. So there's formulas that are set and they change every year where there's different rates saying this is the base exemption. And then it's your salary times 1.4% as an example. So like there's different formulas. So for EI, for example, any salary that's less than this year, the number is 63,200. If it's less than that, it gets multiplied by 0.166. If it's higher than that, the max contribution is 1,469 per employee. So each of EI, CPP, EHT, WSIB payable is just a different formula based on a different percentage set by the CRA every year. And that's how we use everyone's salary for the year to estimate what the employer's contribution will be.
Thank you very much.
So are we in the right range with our net earnings? Like, is that where we want to sit usually?
Like the bottom line you're just asking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're a nonprofit, so we're not looking to make money. But we certainly wouldn't present a budget that was in a negative. So having, $724 positive out of 2.34 million, like we thought that was reasonable.
Those two questions. First one is under other expenses, the first line donation and goodwill. What is that?
So we've used that in the past. One thing that comes to mind immediately is there was an organization that was doing, I can't remember the name of the organization. They were doing a fundraiser for Indigenous support. I think it was a volleyball game, and they were looking for sponsors, so we would, give them a couple $100. I know we've done that before for the powwow as well that happens at Brock. So it's kind of when opportunities come up for us to be a sponsor, which isn't very often. It's usually the other way around. We're looking for sponsorship money. But sometimes there's events that go on in the community where we feel like we should be present or we should provide some support to.
From this year, we had a student approach us and their partner that they were working with on a school project. And it's something they want to deliver to their class. And so they were looking for $200 to help them with their personal costs in delivering this program to their class. And so we reviewed it and we said, okay, well, we can support you with your $200. It usually comes in fairly small denominations.
I was gonna add to that too. BLCS, which Nicole is a part of, they run a ball hockey tournament. In the past, BUSU has sponsored like $500 for the ball hockey tournament.
It's also the line I believe we use if there is a student death. We will usually cover some expenses that might arise for that family, or we send them flowers or some sort of condolence.
Thank you for the clarification.
Do you have a second
Yeah, I
question?
did. The $724, I know you mentioned it before, but how does that money does the money go back into other like I guess funds or expenses to try to round out to zero because we are non-for-profit? Is there like a way?
It's a great Robert question.
So last year, we just approved some audited financial statements. We had an actual surplus of $773. It actually goes into our unrestricted fund, and our unrestricted fund, according to Grant Thornton, should be about 10% of our overall budget. Well, last year, we were just over $16 million, or this year, we're just last year, we were just under $16 million in overall revenue. And our overall surplus in terms of unrestricted surplus is 1.632 million. So we keep a little bit of money for rainy day. And then certainly if, for example, we get over 1.6 million and so what we would look to do is reallocate those funds the next year.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Comments, you, Linda, was that you?
Yeah, I was gonna ask a different question, but I think I might actually just know something what Charlie said, and that's in primary, I assume that the funds would just go to basically any of these things, or does the funds tend to be allocated to a certain area more, or could the additional funds to be allocated to a certain area next year?
Sorry, but
Yeah, so we're $773 this year. It has just gone to an unrestricted surplus. Now, hopefully, our goal is, our goal is to finish with a very small surplus each year. But then what we don't want to do is go to like 1.7 million in surplus. So we would come to you in a subsequent year and say, listen, we have $100,000 in extra surplus. We're allocating it as follows, and you would approve the budget. Does that make sense?
So it is, yeah, so the surplus eventually just goes back into the revenue and it's found.
Correct.
Okay.
And we usually don't know what that actual surplus is until like we just had our audit, right? So it's very hard to say like, which we can take this $727 and just, put it back in the food bank this year because we don't really know what that surplus is while we're still in the fiscal year.
I think I'm sure. So I do like the presentation. It's very organized in general, so I do appreciate that. The first question, so I have two questions if that's okay. So the first question I have is obviously staffing costs, as you mentioned as well, they're grouped, and changing one salary can affect expenses for all the others, whether it's employment insurance, CPP, DST, etc. So I'm wondering, do we have salaries from the previous year so we can kind of benchmark, kind of assess for similar organizations, how much are they providing in, let's say, group benefits or RSP and etc.
yeah, we do have all the budgets from last year's, and we have all the actual costs from last year, so we're able to go and look up exactly how much we spent on all of these lines and then make adjustments accordingly, and then I don't have an answer for the.
I can help a little bit.
But,
So on our website, so under governance, we have our audited financial statements and our budgets for the past X number of years. It's somewhere in the order of 8 or 9 years right now. We're required to retain, from a retention policy perspective, 7 years. So you can actually see those. If you're only looking at it over the last couple years, it's going to be a little bit deceiving because we were emerging from COVID. So what we did is we actually laid off 55% of our workforce during COVID. So literally we went down to, a very small staff of folks, and then we carried forward. Year one of COVID, we were still like restricted. You can only have like X number of people sit within X number of feet of each other. So we were still pretty small. And then we finally emerged, and this year is probably our first normal year of operation. Even last year, we didn't really materialize that. So all of that information is available, not just for our board, but for anyone to review moving forward.
Thank you. The second question that I'm wondering is that our net earning or loss, there's very high likelihood that we're going to run into an overrun, cost overrun or expense overrun. I know we have that. I think it was like a stimulus or something.
Contingency.
Contingency. Is there anything else that we have that controls to make sure to kind of stay within our budget that we've forecasted, or?
I don't know if someone has a better answer, but I think the budget is kind of the control. We get the board to approve how much we are able to spend on each line, and we stay with that.
I will add a little bit. So ultimately, you're responsible for me and Anusha's role. And ultimately, if we're anticipating a budget overrun and I don't come to you right away, right, quite frankly, call a special meeting, you should fire me. So that's your real big control, because you're actually ultimately sort of saying, Robert, your responsibility is to operate within the budget you've given you. If you approve this tonight, I need to operate within the budget that you've given me. And in the years I've been here, I've always done so. So this is my 7th year, I have done so. And so if I don't, you should, and I don't come to you right away and say, listen, we're anticipating something we didn't foresee, you should fire me.
Yeah, I mean, we have regular reporting, so he
Yeah.
can check in real time where we're at all the time, so. If if he can see if we're headed for a collision somewhere. Well, several of us can see, it's not just.
Yeah, that's it. I think just in general, like whether group benefits or other contributions can be reduced, but that would need, I think, an accountant or something.
Well, so in terms of group benefits, I mean, we shop around our benefits every year that they're up for renewal. In terms of other employee, benefits we have, I work regularly with a HR group of other student associations. I think we're up to 16 or 17 schools now that meet regularly, and compensation and what our packages are and what people offer for wellness, and is parking paid or not? How many sick days do you all have? That's all stuff that we discuss and benchmark all the time. So we are certainly in line and within the realm of what other people are doing.
You talked about pay scale.
Yeah, and then for pay scale for permanent staff, we have pay bands constructed, so each job basically is scored based on the roles, responsibilities, and skills that that role takes. So it will be placed in a bracket, and then each bracket has a pay range associated with that. And that is regularly benchmarked against other student unions, but then also just the general St. Catherine's market. There's a few jobs that are easier to benchmark in the external market: an accounting manager, an HR position, a marketing
Executive
manager,
director.
an executive director. Then there's others that are more specific to the student union realm, a clubs manager, for example. Probably not gonna find a benchmark of that out in the regular St. Catherine's market, so that I would benchmark against other schools.
So the software is called pay scale, and essentially Kate can enter in, you know, this is the size of our organization, this is the market that we're in, what percentile, so we look to be in the middle. What percentile, if we're for profit or not for profit, and essentially it gives Kate a printout of what, you know, for example, someone like an HR manager should make in the actual. That's
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions? Do you have?
I did, but
I'm just gonna pass these around. I do have a couple questions about the staff costs, if we could go through that. Sorry if I missed it, if you went over it already.
You didn't miss much, so probably not.
Okay. So I'm just looking at the salaries for executives. Could you just remind us again how much each executive makes out of that $184,000?
I can pull it up, Kate. You can start.
Yeah, well, there, oh, wait, I probably have it on my spreadsheet. So the VPs are at 45,491, and the president is at 46,726.
Okay, so the three are the same at 45,900 and then 526.
Mhm.
How many part-time employees do we have at the 100,000?
So that is roughly. Wait, let
And
me check my-
also this would be for like part-time staff in BUSU and Isaacs?
No,
No,
that's all a separate budget. So
that's separate. What about Union Station? Is that separate too?
Yeah.
Same with General Rock?
Mhm.
Separate. Okay, so this part-time is going for part-time students in the office.
Right,
Okay.
so we have plenty of them that work in the office between street team, comms coordinators, reception, food first.
And then for staff and exec parking, who gets parking and like what does that cover? Is it completely covered? Is this for all execs, which staff? I'm just curious.
All staff, all permanent staff and all executives get paid parking.
Paid parking in which lot?
Zone one,
Zone one, paid parking.
zone one and the executives and the directors have, I think it's called lot A.
Lot A. Okay,
Yep.
that's the lot just right outside.
Yeah.
And then for staff and exec food allowances, I was just wondering what the breakdown is for that, and if you could just explain it to us.
So for food allowances, it is $1,000 for the 4 executives and for the GM position, and all the other permanent staff have 500. Minus the unionized staff who's exempted from that.
Okay.
So all permanent employees have 500.
500, and what's it for? Do you want to just explain it?
So that's to be able to buy meals from Isaac's, Harvey's, or Booster Juice, just as an added bonus.
For working.
Yeah, it's something that we can give that actually doesn't cost the organization like the straight $500 to give. I used it tonight, for example, because I didn't go home between the meeting tonight, so that's an example of when I would use it. The executives use it when they're here doing various like events that are occurring, like Shania was here doing trivia till 7. She probably also ate dinner. Celine, same thing, so.
Okay.
Largely what it's for.
But on that excitement. And then, the cell phone monthly plan, sorry if I missed that too, if you remember it.
Nope.
Who gets a cell phone or what does that look like? I'm just curious.
So that's also essentially tiered based on pay bands. So the lower pay band employees get $50 a month towards their cell phone. And there's a medium tier that gets 75, and then the executive tier gets 100 per month. So that's, many companies have corporate cell phone plans, but we find that very cumbersome to actually like the logistics of it is complicated. People don't want to carry 2 phones. Then when people come and go, especially with executive positions that are changing every year, you're changing the phone. It gets complicated, so we just let everyone use their personal devices and then contribute towards it.
Just for, sort
Go
of,
ahead.
just to follow up on that, just for clarifications, like the tier model. So essentially people who are getting paid more get more money for their phone plan, is that how I'm hearing it?
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's not
Yeah.
that they get paid, well, no, not that they get paid more, sorry, because the
Okay, sorry.
executives get the highest level for cell phone, but they don't get paid the most.
gotcha, okay.
But the band structure is more like, yes, sort of you end up getting paid more and getting more for your cell phone, but it's because the scoring of your job and the responsibility and the level of your job is higher. So think of it more like the higher up the chain you go, not we're giving you more money.
I'll just build on that before we'll go to you, if that's okay with Madam Chair, so, okay? So, so for example, if things are going really bad, they're gonna contact an executive or me. And so that could be at 2 o'clock in the morning, or it could be at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then from a communications perspective, this doesn't happen as much to me, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna happen to Anusha, is that her DMs, people are contacting her on a regular basis on direct message, not necessarily just on her email address. And so when they're reaching out to the executives, they're like, hey, I need to know about this, or I need to know about this now. And so the reality is that there is a little bit of, that occurs as well. And so, in all due respect, Kate, unless there's something tremendous, and we're not gonna bother you at home unless we absolutely have to. But the reality is if our refrigeration goes out, I get a call.
So I reviewed some of the past documents and I understand the context there. I just wanted to ask, so I noticed our executive salaries, they went from 120K to 184K. Now, there probably is a rationale, it's around 53% increase. So I'm just wondering what that might have been, because we reduced our permanent staff salaries by contrast, so that shows that there's some changes to be made.
So on the permanent staff side, I'll speak to that and then we'll speak to the executive side. I have a little bit more history. So on the permanent staff side is that there were a couple of different things that happened to the organization. One called the Student Choice Initiative. You'll remember that, Riel, where the students could opt out of student ancillary fees. We had to get smaller. During COVID, we also had to get smaller. So as a staff unit, like as a staffing structure, we're smaller than we were. Now, we're operating really well and we're operating efficiently, and that's a good thing, okay? On the executive side, there's been proposals over periods of time that have come to the board, including last year. We have some people that wanted for last year. And there was requests made to increase their salaries. And so certainly there was some data provided and things of that nature, and the board approved that. So ultimately, the decision on that rests with the board. The decision made last year also was that executive salaries would rise with the price of the cost of living index. And so that would get applied to executive salaries moving forward, but doesn't necessarily get applied to staff salaries moving forward. So is that helpful in terms of context?
Right, are we able to contest it, or now it's fixed for the term?
So there's an employment contract in place. So I'm going to put a little bit of an
Yeah.
HR hat on, and I'll turn to my right a little bit, is that the actual executives have been offered funds in
Yeah.
terms of in a employment contract, and that employment contract is for a fixed term. And in a fixed term contract, it's even more complicated than in a salaried relationship. So that they've actually been offered a certain amount of money over a 12-month period of time. I'll turn over to you if you have anything else to add to that, because you're our HR expert.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Okay, perfect.
I will clarify one thing that I think contributed to the jump this year in particular is that there was a portion of the VPUA salary that used to come out of the health and dental plan. That role historically had a lot more to do with the health and dental plan, and so they did contribute to that portfolio, and so it made sense to allocate some of the expense there. But in recent years, that's not been the case, and so we took that percentage and put it back in Division 1 because it didn't seem appropriate to be charging it to healthcare. So that is probably a chunk of the adjustment.
Okay, just,
So not that that person earned any more, it just came out of a different pot.
I just quickly ask, thank you. Just a quick question, so when would we be able to contest or reevaluate the kind of costs or,
Executive salary?
Yeah.
Next year before they sign, like when this group is done. And before the next group starts, when we put out the job postings, and start that appointment process is when we could.
so
change
it would
the
have to
salary.
be before they're hired then?
Yes. You have to post the job with the amount it's for, and then they would get an employment contract for that set amount.
Okay,
So January.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, I was
January.
gonna say it'll start in January. So that could be revisited before do any appointment. Starting it.
Anyone else have any other questions? Budget. All right, so then we'll look to approve it. So the motion is, be it resolved, board approves the 2024-2025 BUSU Division 1 operating budget. Can we get a mover? Hinkle, seconded by Hannah. All in favor? Right. You got it? Sure.
That's a little bit late. No, I was just like,
Sorry?
I was just like to the party.
Oh, okay, no, that's okay. I thought you did.
Any
Okay.
opposed? And any abstentions? Passes. All right, there's an in-camera session, so be it resolved, board moves in camera, moved by McKee, seconded by Thomas, all in favor? Okay, board moves in camera at 7:42 PM.
Okay.
And there's
try to speed run this as fast as possible. So this is me bringing, motion, like, from Carly and my end. Be it resolved, BUSU Board of Directors approve funding the remaining budget for the Vice President, University Affairs to attend the OE Global Conference and Award Ceremony in Brisbane, Australia. I hope you've all got some time to read the topic sheet. This was something that we wanted to get to the previous board meeting, but obviously we ran out of time and it was a last minute addition. As mentioned in some of my board reports as well, in my last two board reports actually, Carly was awarded with an OER award. And the actual conference for that is happening in Brisbane, Australia in November. Just to give you some background, the open educational resources, which are basically teaching, learning, and research materials in any kind of format or medium. So like in textbooks, videos, any of that sort. That basically is public and can be accessed by any student. So we currently work with Brock University and with Rajiv, who is the provost for teaching and learning. We previously approved 100% funded the OER grant program in an OER grant program, which is now also augmented with the university funding. So as part of that program and as part of this conference, Rajiv sits on the board for this conference as well. He nominated Carly Charlton from BUSU, who has been working tirelessly on this project with Rajiv. And sorry, I got distracted. And Carly also works with the OER working group that again is focused towards creating the OER program and improving the grant program for this. So the motion that I'm bringing is basically to send Carly to this global conference, as there are a couple of things that would benefit the organization as well. As you might be aware or you might not, we do have a tech-enabled learning paper that is going to be discussed next at next USET-GA, which is going to be in the winter semester. And Mark, who's our VPEA, will be the authors for one of those papers as well. We want that the knowledge that we gain at this conference will have a great impact on that paper that we're going to be writing. Essentially because no other school from the 9 USU schools has ever been part of this conference or has even been recognized for OERs before. So this would be a great great advancement on our side, and it would really look good for BUSU as a whole, and obviously also help Carly professionally. And Carly has also been invited to this conference as well. The conference is happening on November 13th to the 15th. I have skipped a few pieces in the topic sheet because there's a lot that I would have to read, and I'm hoping that you all are following along with me. So with regards to sending Carly to Australia, we also did, we also did speak with Brock University, since this is an initiative that we do with them. We asked them if they would help contribute towards this trip, and we got an email from the provost who approved providing $2,500 to send Carly to Australia. In addition, we would also use Carly's professional development, which is $1,000, as mentioned in the budget earlier on in the meeting today. And as you can see, there's a budget breakdown as to how much we would need to get approved from the board today to be able to send Carly to this global conference, which we really hope that is going to be very helpful in promoting the OER program here at Brock and improving services. I'm happy to answer any questions. B.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for putting that all in for us. Okay, questions from board?
I would just like to speak in favor of this motion, if that's agreeable. Okay, yeah, I think just between reading it before the meetings started and the fact that Brock is itself going to fund this trip, I think one, it's in the best interest of BUSU, just on an international scale. Only 3 students were nominated for this award, Carly being one of the 3. I think this is just again, to my last point, this is a good moment for BUSU as an organization to get OERs, kind of known more world round and in BUSU itself too, or in the Brock community. So I'm going to speak in favor of this motion.
Yeah, I would just be primarily wondering, like, where the $19 should probably go. Like, maybe it was already explained in the kind of motion or in the package that we got, but I just if you could maybe just clarify that.
The university is providing us with $2,500 to help. And I'm gonna look to it, Robert, a few seconds in terms of where the 1,900 we are gonna be taking off.
So probably would be contingency at this point in time. So we just look at the budget now, so there's a contingency line of $20,000 that would be dealing with any overages.
No needs.
So thank you, Anushka, for your presentation. Can you, or can someone, for the benefit of the board, just repeat Carly's salary last year, this year, just so we have a kind of working number there?
Carly's salary?
Yeah.
When I look towards Kate, because I don't have it on me right now.
This year was 45.
This year, 45,491.
Was it the same last year then, or?
No, it was slightly lower because it went up by CPI. Yeah.
Okay.
0.67, so it went up 3.67%, which was CPI last fiscal year.
Is there any other questions? For Michelle?
Or like just in general, I think is like, is there nowhere else we can take the money out of, like, you know how she goes to USA or like student services representative to go to other conferences and things, like we can't take it out of that?
That is, sorry, the breakdown. They're asking for $1,900 on top of the $1,000 that Carly would get out of the budget, so it would be 2,900 from the division budget.
Any other questions for Alicia for the discussion? Yeah.
So I understand, and it may just be my misapprehension. Are you also going with her, or are you just presenting on her behalf?
Oh, I wish.
Okay.
As much as I wish to go to Australia, no, I will not be going with her. It's gonna be only Carly going from BUSU.
Any more questions?
Just one point to consider, so for consideration is, there is some concern that was raised in Cameron. And this will take that particular employee out of the office for another week, and then I don't know what the plans around USA are, so certainly USA is here this week. There may be other plans with respect to USA, because there is another GA and there's also lobby week. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, maybe she might have a much better idea of that, but that is just something I think you need to consider in the overall decision.
If there's no more questions, we can move into discussion, before we vote on the motion. I could just start with my opinion. I think as an executive of BUSU, she's already making significant salary. I think $1,900 should come directly from her, since she's already receiving funding for more than half of this conference from Rock. So good for her that she's going, but I don't think that needs to come out of more student dollars. And also, just as Robert said, it would be better if she was here fulfilling her role, but I think either way, she's probably already bought her ticket to go to the conference, so she will be gone. Or no, not yet.
Nothing
Okay.
has been.
Nothing has been, okay, my apologies. It probably would be better for her to stay and fulfill her roles here, but if she does choose to go, I think that should come out of her budget. Yes.
I would just like to add to that, when you said broad, technically this is also funding this in a way,
$1,000,
exactly,
yes.
so.
Yes, you're correct.
We're going.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I just wanted to look at it from an outsider's perspective. Or a reasonable bystander. I do feel like, apart from her kind of partially decorated portfolio in the past, at least for the public, I do think that there's a perception that we're just kind of out of student money, we are paying for people to go on kind of these trips to Australia. And she is being given, can someone just clarify what is PE?
Professional development, yeah, so essentially money to go to a conference.
Which is
Or take a class.
Or take a
Or
class.
just
credit.
any kind of.
Allocation that would be, that's professional.
So this is restricted, is what you're saying, or they could use it in any way?
Or maybe you can elaborate on professional.
No, they can't use it in any way. It has to be used on something that reasonably relates to their job that would develop them in a way that the idea is that it then benefits the organization. And also, yeah, so it has to be used on some amount of professional development. It doesn't have to be used. It could be choose to not do anything, and that's fine, but it can't be for something else that's not
so
professional
it's-
development.
Thank you.
Can I just add a point of clarification though? Is Carly also asking us to use her $1,000 for this, or she gets to choose completely on her own to use that? I'm just wondering, is she also asking us, the board today, that if she can use that $1,000 towards Australia? Or is she just saying, I'm planning to use that for Australia, $1,000?
I just wanted to add that $1,000 is actually going to be less because there are costs associated. It's minimal, but there are costs associated with her attending the USA conference that is happening this week. It's less because we're hosting, so we're not sending people away and putting them up in hotels. But that's something to consider. I don't know the actual cost, but I also don't know her intent to participate in USA the rest of the year.
Right, for second semester.
So you bring up a good point, because you were on the board last year, and that just brought it to my attention. So I believe the motion for a professional development,
I think it has to be approved by the board.
I agree, yes. So
Okay.
yes, the motion would have to include that the board does approve the $1,000 to be used for Australia, correct?
And then you're clarifying that some of that money needs to go, even though it might be less significant to Bronx, USA, and GA, potentially next semester and anything else that comes up throughout the year.
Yeah, she's attending USA this semester, so if there's cost associated with that, and then if I don't think the board will be able to approve her continuing to go with USA if they not approve this, because there is only $1,000, so just the board needs to be considerate of the budget that you just approved an hour and a half ago. But, have $1,000 for her to spend on professional.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt your question. Do you have something else on it?
No,
Okay.
it was complimentary, so I appreciate that. And so my understanding is if something was a motion, it'd be up to $1,900. So I do,
Yeah. 2,900.
So-
Because professional development 1,000 plus 1,900 that she's asking, so it'd be 2,900.
so both of these are included.
We can just have to
You have to approve both. So we'd add a second,
second motion.
or we would just
She
clarify
said
the motion.
but it's 20.
So yeah, I do agree with the conversations up until this point. We shouldn't be reinforcing, or in this case, rewarding, the conversation we had just recently in camera. We shouldn't be rewarding, we don't want to reward a scenario where people have a perception that BUSU is paying using student dollars for vacations or trips or conferences. I know, just to throw it out there, the Institute of Corporate Director was a really good, many of their directors I had good conversations with, and there were things that I wanted to do. But I wouldn't necessarily pay using student dollars, because there's thousands of conferences every year. So I think we should reassess, let's say, the $1,900 amount, because we are already paying her using student funds. So she can just easily use that dollar amount towards her trip, and then maybe, let's say, 1,000 could be approved by us. So
So you're getting
Point of clarification, so be it resolved that the BUSU president and BUSU vice president University Affairs to be provided with up to $1,000 for professional development that is pre-approved by the board of directors each year, and that was passed last year. So the pre-approval was passed in the motion.
So they would have to come to the board.
Yeah, and so the motion that you've been presented is, does the board approve the $1,000? And then subsequent to that would be, does the board approve the additional 1,900? That clarify?
Okay, any other discussion on this? Oh, sorry, yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to echo Robert's concern in that I get the discussion around the money, and I have an opinion on that that's not here nor there. My greatest concern is the time out of the office at this point. It's not just a 3-day conference, it's a 3-day conference halfway around the world.
Yeah.
That there's going to involve a lot of travel time and jet lag. And I'd be worried that a backlog might get bigger.
Can I ask a question? Would we, I don't even know if we have the power to do this, but to tell Carly she cannot go to Australia in, like, I don't know, do we have the power to do that as a board, like to prevent someone from going? Because this is kind of outside of BUSU, like this award was not in her job description. This is something outside that she received from BUSU. I'm sure it's like it does include things that she's done with BUSU, but it was awarded outside of BUSU. This is a conference that I also checked with the provost. This is like a half online conference, half in person. So there's options to attend online as well. But this is not really within her responsibilities. It's within the spirit, but not completely her job description, like you were saying. But can we like prevent somebody from, like, can we prevent her? I don't think that we have the power to do that. If she chooses to
Could
go.
request vacation time,
Yeah,
Oh,
which
okay.
so
Anisha has,
Okay,
gives authorization for, but it shouldn't typically be unreasonably withheld. Like
okay,
if she has earned vacation time and there's not a huge organizational reason why, you generally wouldn't deny.
okay, that's what I thought. It just wouldn't count in her working hours. She would have to request special permission for vacation or whatever it is. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
but yeah, we go in the vacation too.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
sorry, thank you for that point. So that actually raised a question for me. Right now, she's going using working hours, or she's usually paid her salary, or
Well, either way, she gets paid her salary, correct? Even if she takes vacation, she's still
Yeah.
gets paid
Yeah,
by
she's-
that. So either way, she gets paid.
I think under this model, it would be like considered for work, so she wouldn't be booking vacation time to go. I think
Yeah.
So,
is the understanding.
so can we do anything? So this is allocated for vacation? As opposed to right now where it's under the kind of pretenses or
Why do,
category of.
I don't think the board would approve funds and then say you have to use your vacation.
She would just
Full
have to
trip.
say that,
So
right?
she would have to say that, is what you're saying?
Well, I think if you approve the funds and the expenditure, then you're essentially approving the time for her to go as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we say no, then just put it in her own.
Yeah, if you approve either the $1,000 and or the additional 1,900, you're saying as a board, she can go and use this from a professional development standpoint. If she chooses to, for example, take vacation and go and spend that on her own, then that would be something would be, you'd be in murky water
Yeah.
withholding her from doing that.
Is there anything else we have not said, that we'd like to have any discussion before we kind of call the question? Okay. Can I put, I know that there's a motion there, but can I just, we haven't voted on it or anything, so can I just put anyone up there? Just be it resolved.
Sure.
Okay. Be it resolved word is not.
Well, you would have to do it in affirmative
Okay,
and then just vote it down. So
Okay.
what I have done is I added the first part of the motion I've changed to be it resolved, board approve the $1,000 professional development for the VPUA for the OER award ceremony conference in Brisbane, Australia. So that's the $1,000 separate. And then I have the motion that came forward on topic sheet, be it further resolved, approves the board of directors, approves additional funding. Approves funding the remaining budget up to $1,900 for the VPUA to attend. Right.
so I just have a question. Does it have to be voted on, or can the motion just also fail if there's no mover or seconder?
It can fail if there's no mover and seconder, yeah.
Okay.
So
Do you
you
have a
can
question?
either have a mover seconder vote, and then the vote either approved or denied. You can ask for a mover and seconder. You can get a mover and no seconder and it fails.
Okay.
You can get a either. It fails, it's fine.
Thanks for that. Yes, Nicole.
Sorry, I just had a last minute question. So for the professional development budget last year, was it fully used? Or just trying to go off the basis on?
It was definitely
Specific
used.
concern.
Yeah, so it was actually
Over.
used by a lot, like a very lot, actually last year. I could call it up right now if you're interested. I don't think it would be very long, but it was fairly significant.
Is there any other? I was gonna ask if there's any other questions while Robert pulls that up. Did you have something to add? I don't wanna pass on you. Okay, no, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question was that we mentioned the vacation time thing. So, oh, sorry, no, fail. So I had a question on fails. Point of clarification. So if it fails, that means that we don't have to like vote or anything. It cancels.
If it, sorry. We'll state the motions.
Yeah.
We all ask for a mover seconder. No one wants to put up their hand to move and second it. It's done. We don't even go forward with the vote. It just fails that way. Or you can put your name forward as a mover and seconder, and then you can vote either in favor, against, or abstain.
Just
Does anyone want cake or?
Probably good.
Is that matter for the professional development budget?
There's a meeting expense line first. Next. We need to-
Profit sheet,
I don't
looking
know
for the
if
budget.
This is relevant. Well, it is relevant.
Okay.
But there is. There is a set amount of vacation days she's entitled to, and there is a balance. According to that, so
Like that she's already banked for her vacation, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, there's been some used already and a balance remains. And so that would have to potentially be factored in.
Okay.
So kind of give you an idea, so, for last year, in terms of professional development, so we were around $10,000 per executive last year. So that's kind of.
Which prompted the motions.
Hey, sorry, no, my bad.
I'm sorry, sometimes I can't tell, like Richard is very hard to tell.
He goes like this. He puts like a finger.
Yeah. Right, was that it, Robert? Or-
That's it.
Okay, all right, so if
Can
I'll
you read the
read-
motion?
Yeah, do you have it up on yours?
That's it.
Okay, so the motion being presented to the board is be it resolved that BUSU Board of Directors approves funding the remaining budget up to $1,900 for the Vice President, University Affairs to attend the OE Global Conference and Award Ceremony in Brisbane, Australia. Is there a mover?
Did you want to add in the second part about the extra $1,000 for the professional
result?
development?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just be it further resolved.
Yeah. Board approved the $1,000 professional development for the BPUA for the same conference. That's in one.
Is there a mover? Okay, seconder. Okay, motion fails.
So now I want to just provide, so there's the $1,000 ask now. So that got, so that was sort of the combined emotion. So now there's the $1,000 piece. Could the $1,000 be used for a trip to Australia? And I don't know if we want to put that forward. I'm gonna leave that view.
Sorry, I thought that was concluded.
Yeah,
was
but
the-
you could still approve one of the pieces
Like you
or
don't-
one of the other pieces.
Oh, so we
Because it's a
didn't
two-piece thing.
fully, so now I have to take the second motion. Well, wasn't it in one motion though?
Yeah, be it further resolved.
So it was all in one motion, so the whole motion failed,
Yeah,
correct?
we did put it in one, so.
So it's not a separate thing. If
Okay.
we separated them, then yes, but because we added it, okay.
Okay, that's
Sorry,
good.
I think I
So,
confused.
one-
So I'm gonna help you stick handle here for a second. So
Yeah.
if you wanted the board to reconsider that, because it went on the floor and then was voted on, then you would say, listen, I need a motion to reconsider and you would need 50% plus one. And if that's the case, then you can put the motion for $1,000 on the board, on the table today.
The second part of the motion.
The original part that you had?
No.
So
the $1,000.
Anisha is asking motion to reconsider the be it further resolved, correct? Of the
Yeah.
$1,000 to be used towards Australia.
I just wanted to know, is it just for professional development or just for the trip that we booked?
It was, professional development for the trip.
For this trip, okay,
For the trips.
so that means the $1,000 can be used for
Himself.
himself or for another trip.
Or whatever else is pre-approved budget.
Did you still want to put forward the motion to reconsider? Well, you can't, but
Yeah, I can,
Is that your intention, Anisha? Would you like?
but I can't.
I know, but I'm just wondering if that's your intention.
Well, it clearly failed, so I don't think there's
Okay.
any point of
All right.
putting it forward.
Thanks, Anisha. I believe we are now moving into reports. So we have a report from the president and a report from the general manager. I don't remember, I don't have my computer closed, but who's first?
we're sorry,
Robert's first, okay.
I will make this as brief as I possibly can. So the new student space, so we've now met with the architect 4 times. The one we saw yesterday was really outstanding. So we're getting closer. We've also, so the architect has sent the concept right now to the cost consultant, so we will know what this costs in the near future, in the next couple of weeks. Grant Thornton, our public accounting firm, is in the market, so they're actually meeting with the banks and the lending agencies currently. And we will have to bring this to the Board of Trustees on the 4th and 5th of December. If it's approved, then we will start construction on this project this coming spring, summer. So that's quite exciting. So that's an update on that front. With respect to BUSU Instagram, a little shout out to our marketing team. We got a blue check mark. So we were invited to get our blue check mark. So congratulations to Jesse and the entire marketing team on that. They're also at a little over, they're approaching 17,300 Instagram followers. In terms of club ratification, so club ratification started yesterday, the 21st of October, will continue through until November the 8th, 2024. So if you know anyone that's interested in ratifying the club, that would be wonderful. So with respect to PACRID, so the President's Committee on Decolonization and Equity and Diversity, they will likely want to meet with you next board meeting to discuss a referendum. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that. We will be, thanks to Hinkle, we will be acknowledging both Indigenous Veterans Day, coming from Brielle, and Remembrance Day. Veterans Day on November the 8th and Remembrance Day on November the 11th. Our night market is coming up on November the 20th. And then from a personal perspective, yesterday, I finished 50% of my last class toward my master's degree in education. And by next Monday, I'll be completed 58% of my class and 70% of my grades. And I'll be writing my thesis in the winter.
I'm not happy because you're not at 60%, you're only at 58%.
I'm precise.
Literally thinking, right?
Thank you, Robert. Is there any questions regarding his report? Nope. Okay. Anisha, go ahead.
Speed running it. First things first, all executives provided their board reports. They have been posted on the portal, so please feel free to kind of read through those as well. First we had the carnival, which was a huge success. It was on October 9th. We had about 5,000 attendees, and we made a new system for an arcade style prize system, which went really well. We had some happy faces on the ground that day. Huge shout out to our events manager, Carly, Shania, Mark, and Celine, for all the work that they did, and especially street team who worked tirelessly on the grounds that day in the very bad weather. So I'm really, really happy that everything went well. We did have a raffle for that prize system as well, which was announced on our Instagram. And students have already started picking up their prizes this week, which is exciting. Next thing is USA GA. Everything is set for USA. There's a little typo there. I said the schools are arriving tomorrow. They're not arriving tomorrow. They're arriving on Thursday. Little typo. Everything has been set. Everything's on track. We're really excited to just have all the schools on campus, show our beautiful campus, and have a good conference. Huge shout out to Dave and the entire food and beverage team, to Celine, Jesse, and Haley, for all the support that they have helped us throughout the planning process. Next things, we have met with a lot of local politicians, so mayors and MPPs, over the last 2 to 3 weeks. If you're looking for some more information on which politicians we met, I would highly recommend you look at the external affairs board report, because it's a little more detailed in there. We do food first letter follow-up. As mentioned in my previous board report, we did send out a letter, and we, as the chair and the vice chair, signed on those. We still haven't received any communication from senior admin on what they would like to do or whether they would like to meet or not. So we're just holding off on that, and once we have an update, we will reach out to you folks. Robert has already given the new student center building, so I'm not gonna check on that. The Senate presentation, I'm gonna be giving a Senate presentation at USAC on November 21st. So I'm just preparing for that. Brock Strat Plan, we were invited, me and Carly were invited to the launch for the Brock Strat Plan, which was approved on Senate and at board successfully. So we will be attending that on behalf of BUSU. Fall convocation, everything went great. Mark and Shania represented us at both the ceremonies. It was great. Marketing communication with the execs, we have decided, along with Jesse, that we will be doing Instagram lives every Monday. You would have seen one yesterday. If you didn't, you can always go back and see it. And then we would also be doing office hours. We're still deciding the timeline for those, so that will be out soon as well. Lastly, we're back for meeting week. It was quite the break that was needed, and we're back, and it's gonna be a busy week for us as well because of BUSU. A lot of work in progress, and all of us is ready to get back on track. And last thing, we are meeting with the provost tomorrow. Me and Carly are only meeting, not the entire exec team, unfortunately, but we're really excited to actually formally meet her and have some great discussion. So, thank you.
That was- It was record time. Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
Is there any questions for the president's report? I have a random question. I'm just wondering what hotel you're using to host this year.
It's gonna be 4 points.
Four points. Okay. Cool, super exciting. What time is the GA at, if anyone wants to attend it?
So the GA is happening on the 4 days.
Like
So
the
is it-
GA, like the general assembly, or whatever it is.
The plenary? Oh,
Plenary,
okay.
plenary, yes.
The plenary is happening on Sunday from
Starts with
9 AM to
Whenever,
whenever plenary ends. It's happening in Sankey Chambers. So if you'd like to, I don't know if you can pop in, but if you'd like
It's a
to,
small space, but it's probably live streamed. right?
It is being
If
live
anyone
streamed.
wants to watch it.
usually on Facebook Live, you need to watch it.
Awesome. And I see that the other executive reports are in here, so thank you so much
No
for
problem.
writing the message, which I'm sure you all had the opportunity to read. Any general announcements from the board that they'd like to share?
I'm midterm on Thursday.
Good
Good
to
luck
know
with
all of
that.
us.
Or like, any like club announcements that anyone's part of?
No, but I'm excited for the club application. I think there is going to be some new clubs. And I think it's awesome that Rock has a nice community where we can see all these different perspectives and different experiences come together. And we have a nice and open group for that. So I'm really looking forward to the new club starting.
We had two ratified today, the Labor Study Club and Rock Miniatures.
Oh, like the action, like the.
Didn't read it, I just saw the email, so I don't know what they do, but sounds interesting. I'm just wondering if we could move board meetings to the board meeting room. I don't know how everyone feels with the layout. I'm not a fan of it. Just kind of feels weird and square.
It's just
smaller.
I don't know if we could fit around the table. We could try right now if you like.
We can try it next. I don't know. I just feel it's just like a better.
Well, next time, let's aim to come 15 minutes early from the board meeting, and then we can try and.
Anytime.
We can bring some of these chairs and put up chairs.
We could try.
Sure. Yeah, no objection.
Right. Can I get a mover to adjourn the meeting? Tina, all in favor? Cool. Turned at 9:57.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.